Welcome to live stream number 25, streaming 25 days in a row. Very exciting. Yesterday, I was talking to my buddy Alan McGregor, who's also doing some Twitch streaming, and we're going to both shoot for 100 days in a row of live streaming together. So we will see how that goes. Hopefully it will go well. I have to refresh my... There's all these things I have to remember to do every time I start a stream, which is a little bit annoying, but it's all good. Got to refresh the old restream. Oh, I gotta put my song on a repeat over here. My trusty song. Doop, 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 doop. There we go. All right, a little bit of a slow start this morning as I'm ramping up. Please bear with me. Bear with me. Take a look at the old channel. All right, cool. It's live. All right. So first topic. Had my first in-person podcast yesterday with my buddy John Bounds. And man, it was such an absolute blast. I just had such a good time. I've been anticipating it for a little while now as I've been getting my mics and whatnot set up, getting the studio set up for actual in-person podcasting. I've done podcasting now for probably 4 years, mostly remotely. And there's something that is just so much fun about doing it in person. It's not just the podcast itself, it's the before and the after. You have time to to chat, to kind of warm things up before you hit the record button, and then went for a hike afterwards. I just had a great time. And I gotta say, there's a little lag obviously when you're doing something remote over the internet. Whether the lag is a second or 2 seconds or whatever it is, it makes little things in conversation, like little back and forth things. Like if you interrupt somebody to ask a question about something on a live stream, it's on a remote one, it's so disruptive because just that little delay makes for such a difference. Whereas where you're sitting right next to each other, you can just easily go back and forth, and it just makes the conversation flow so much better. So I was kind of like, man, I was like, dude, I think I might have found what I want to do for the rest of my life, kind of thing. Like just doing podcasts like that on a range of topics and stuff was so enjoyable on so many levels, and I just had a great time. So hopefully you'll check out that stream or check out that video, interview, audio, whatever. And so that's that. All right, next up, let me put this on the screen here. Next up is the couple of things related to Meetup.com alternatives. So I noticed a few things simultaneously cross the old radar. One of them is this new LinkedIn events feature, which is super interesting. I'm trying to see how I'm in Product Hunt, and I'm trying to find the button to... Yeah, it's funny. I keep ranting about how nothing is properly responsive. Oh, here we go. So I'm on the iPad view, and whenever I do these streams, I always start on the iPad view, and I sort of see it for the first time. I usually saw it on my phone or my desktop, so it's an interesting experience seeing it for the very first time on the iPad view, and like things aren't where you expect them to be. Like I was expecting the Git button to be this button to get to the actual thing to be next to this upvote button, which it usually is, but it's not really there on the iPad. I think the primary call to action on Product Hunt should be the website, not the upvote button. But what the heck do I know? All right, so this is super interesting. Planning an in-person professional gathering. By the way, this is funny. Everybody makes, so I sort of copied this just got a whole lot easier theme for Commerce Hero. I can't remember if that's the current headline or not. I might have changed it to a better way. Yeah, a better way. But for a while, the headline was finding Magento developer just got a whole lot easier. And so everybody sort of makes fun of me with that. But here it is here again. It's a good headline format. Anyways, LinkedIn, obviously I'm a super big fan. Oh, by the way, huge news. I just found out that I'm going to be in the next group of people with access to live stream on LinkedIn. So pumped. I'm so pumped. Anyways. All right. So basically this is for planning face-to-face professional events. And this is my first time seeing this page. First off, okay, this is a blog post. I sort of want to see like a landing page for the events feature. Maybe it's not there because the feature isn't live yet. I'm a little confused about whether this feature is actually live yet. But anyways, this is super interesting. So on a related note, related to meetups, I had been looking for. This is a very disorganized segment here. Hopefully Oliver can clean this up really nicely. But I had been thinking about. So I noticed another tweet recently on the topic of Meetup alternatives, which was Chris Atchard, who's building meetingplace.io. Now, in his particular case, it appears that Meetup is going to start charging people $2 to RSVP even to free events. So he was like, that's not a good idea. So he's building an alternative for that use case. And I had recently realized when I was creating an event for hiking, for Mage Hike, a local Austin area hiking for kind of Magento community, it was like weird because you got to pay, I think it's like $20 a month, $30 a month. And I was like, man, that's a lot. I mean, it's not a lot, it's worth it. But especially because I didn't even know if I was going to be doing the event on a regular basis. I've done 2 of them, and I don't know if I'll do more, but just, it's like paying monthly is a little weird. Like I almost prefer like, hey, what if you charge me like $5 per event or something like that? That would have been more reasonable in my opinion. But anyways, when I was looking at that, I was like, so what are the alternatives to Meetup? And there's Facebook events, which is actually what I went for. But then quite a few people are like, hey, I deleted my Facebook, and more people are deleting their Facebooks. So, that I was like, well, that's not a good option. So it like there was sort of like no alternative to Meetup, which is interesting. And so it's interesting as I'm seeing these couple different options for alternatives to meetups. And I'm finding this LinkedIn landing page to be a little confusing. I'm sort of scanning. I'm not really reading, obviously, very carefully, which is what basically everybody does when they go to a website. And I'm still not clear on, like, is this even live? And I'm seeing screenshots on the phone, so maybe it's live. Hosting an event, ready to blah, 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 blah. We're launching LinkedIn events, and this goes to an answer page. So there's no landing page. I think this is the closest to a landing page there is. But I think this is going to be really interesting. LinkedIn is especially specific. Meetup is a mix of professional events, non-professional events. I think that there's something very powerful about a place to organize professional events tied into your LinkedIn network. I think it's going to be a super interesting feature. Man, LinkedIn is crushing it lately. You got to admit. You have to admit LinkedIn is crushing. And obviously also best of luck to Chris Atchard in his, I'll just do a real quick. This segment is super long. We want to get these segments edited to under 2 minutes and 20 seconds. I have no idea how Oliver's going to pull that off on this one. But may the force be with him. But yeah, so here's this. So Meetup wants to charge you $2, so we're building a replacement, and this is just a landing page, so it's not live yet. So yeah, hopefully that'll work out. All right, next up. Oh man, I saved an image link, which was literally just sometimes when I'm doing a topic and I don't have a relevant tweet, I'll just like find an image that I want to pull up on the screen when I'm discussing it. So this one is related to response times. There we go. Nice response time clock image. Okay. So I was thinking that every platform, every like social media platform should have, as well as email, should have an indicator of response times. Kind of in the same way that if you look at a Facebook page, for example, when you message a page, it tells you this person usually responds in, an hour, 3 hours, 15 minutes, a day, whatever. Upwork has a similar thing, I think. Commerce Hero should have that. That's one of the features I really got to hurry up and build. But basically, you see that on like hiring marketplaces, like the average response time. I'm thinking to myself, that would be really handy for social networks to have. I've been talking a lot about how I'm batching my responses more now. So, ideally my average response time to tweets and DMs and stuff like that is one day. And I think it'd be neat to see that on someone because it would sort of immediately set expectations, because people have all sorts of expectations on response times, and they might get weirded out if they send you a DM and they don't hear back in a few minutes or an hour or whatever. And so it'd be neat to just see what that number is. So you have a sense of expectation on when someone's going to get back to you. And that might help. I'm a fan of batching, and I've talked about that from several perspectives lately. I'm a fan of batching. And so I think that'd be interesting. I think that'd be muy interesante tratar ese experimento. I'm going to do a segment in Spanish on this coming up in the program. Very exciting. All right. I want to talk about traditional recruiter fees and litigiousness in the context of Commerce Hero. This is a bit of native advertising here for you. I go like this a lot. I like touch my eyes a lot. A lot of weird tics. I'm realizing as I'm videoing myself 25 days in a row on the live stream. I got to get better about that. All right. So I was thinking about this recently, and I've talked to a number of people about this. It's been interesting kind of getting into the kind of recruiting world kind of by accident. And I don't, I've never done a thorough like market research of like how recruiters work and blah, blah, blah. It's anything I know about it is just stuff I've heard from different people or experienced from recruiters doing outreach or blah, 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 blah. And, one thing I've heard on a number of occasions is like people don't like to deal with recruiters because, they can be very intense about collecting those fees. If you place a candidate through them, first of all, you got to sign, my understanding is you got to, sign a contract. A lot of times it's going to be exclusive. And if they refer somebody to you, they're going to make darn sure that you pay them. And from what I understand, they can be pretty aggressive and pretty litigious about it. And I mean, on the one hand, I've done this long enough to have experienced some scenarios where you do feel cheated as the person who referred, the job, the candidate, whatever. There's a lot of value in that and getting people business. That's why this is a business model. And so I have been on the other end of it, and it is frustrating. And I think it is fair in a sense that, they should be compensated. I get that, but, and not only in terms of like the aggressiveness and litigiousness, but also in terms of cash flow. Most recruiters charge you their percentage up front. It's either like at the 90-day mark after the candidate starts, or maybe it's upfront, or I don't know exactly when it's charged, but when it's charged, they want all that money, whether it's a 30% fee or 20% or 15%. They want all that money up front. You better pay that, and it can cause some cash flow issues. And our model of Commerce Hero, I think, is much better, much friendlier, which it's monthly, it's month to month, it's the fees are, well, honestly, we should increase our fees. Probably going to increase our fees. I mean, a lot of recruiters charge 20-30%. We charge essentially 12% of annual salary over on a month-to-month basis. It's 1% of annual salary per month for 12 months. We should probably bump that up to 15. But anyways, but it's month-to-month, and that's a unique thing that I think a lot of people don't do, and it helps with cash flow. But also, like, we're not like super aggressive, and part of that is because we're a small company. I'm sure if we scaled to be large, I mean, that might become, one of those necessary evils at some point. But point is that, like, it's just overall a much friendlier option, I think, on a number of levels. And so yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess that's. There's been a couple scenarios where I did feel sort of, cheated by somebody, getting referred business and not paying fees. And the most I've ever done is put a couple people, maybe one person on blast on social media. So that, out of hundreds of, interactions, that's the worst that it's gotten. Anyway, so, in full disclosure. So yeah, so I think that's part of what makes Commerce Hero unique. I think that's pretty cool. Happy about that. To sort of be able to be a friendlier option in the recruiting world. Okay, next up, Nocode. Yeah, now a fun topic. Recruiting is not a fun topic to talk about. All right, Nocode. So this topic is tangentially related to this tweet, which is Andrew Wilkinson. I'm starting a new agency focused on no-code design and build. Who wants to run it? Which I think is super interesting in and of itself, the idea of a no-code agency. He also tweeted recently that, I don't have it handy, but he talked about how he hired somebody to build a site on WordPress, and after several months, it was still buggy, blah, blah, blah. Found somebody else, built it on a no-code. It might have been Webflow, I don't remember. And it was done in like 7 days. Not only that, but it was faster and it was better. And I've had that experience in a limited way with my personal website. I'm starting to look at I'm starting to prototype some things with Airtable, look at building some more complex applications than just a personal website. So the devil will be in the details there, but it's pretty powerful. I was thinking, so I was talking to a buddy about, building out an app, and talking to a few people about that. Got a few things cooking. And I think that what I want to the topic of this section is, I think a time is coming soon, or has already come, where for a bootstrapped business, the best practice is to prototype on no code. Prototype some kind of a solution. So as opposed to, I was talking to a buddy about, like, hey, should we spec out, what we want to build? Should we go ahead and spec something out? And I think that no-code tools are so easy and fluid to build things out that I almost think it's going to be a best practice to prototype something on no-code versus let's spec something out. Let's write up a spec. Let's list out the features and the functionality. I think the best practice is going to be, or already is, to just build the thing out on no code, because it's quick. It gets you 80% of the way there, or 60% of the whatever. It gets you a long way of the way there. Even if you're planning to build a custom app, I think that there's a pretty strong argument to be made that you should be prototyping, or if not prototyping, at least speccing it out with a prototype, essentially, on no code. Yeah, I mean, and so that's pretty much it. I mean, it's really powerful how quickly you can move. you can get so much further, and like it's like nobody wants to read a spec, you know what I mean? Well, some people want to, but you're not really going to get a very good feel for the application by looking at reading a spec. Whereas if you see an actual website, see the headlines, see the buttons, see the sign up process, use Airtable, create workflows, you can really start to feel the thing out, which is what's really important when you're building something out. All right, so that's it. Short and sweet. Short and sweet on that one. Next up, I'm going to do a review of Magento Power BI. Man, I'm so pumped about LinkedIn live streaming access. So I recently connected with this dude, Kirill, on LinkedIn, and he mentioned this to me. And so I'm just going to do a quick review of it. I'm interested in, obviously, Magento-related stuff, BI being business intelligence, interested in better understanding, applications around this. I'm going to turn my volume down so that I can maybe play this video with, no, you know what? I don't want to play that because it's probably going to overload my system. I think it's hard to play videos when I'm doing live streaming, so I'm going to skip the video, but it's good that you have a video there. All right, so what does this do? Available for Magento 2. First of all, we need a stronger headline here. Magento Power BI extension. What is it that really makes this unique? Magento Advanced Reporting and Analytics, Trade Reports, Dashboard. What I want to see are, because this is all about reports and dashboards, what I want to immediately see, and this may be in the video. By the way, on this video, what I'd prefer is a video that's auto playing. I think Story Creator app is a good example of this. This is a thing I've run across recently. It's so hard to Google things these days. Like, why can't I just see the website? There we go. Why didn't that come up on Google search? So I recently ran across this. It's for creating social media shareable videos, but the homepage, there we go. So this is an awesome user experience here where the video is auto playing, number one, and you've got headline captions. And this is Michael here, who's the founder. And so I would do that with your video. Now, of course, I should be following my own advice, and I should do that on Commerce Hero. But anyways, if this video was auto playing when I hit the homepage with captions, so that again I can see that right now as I'm not able to listen, and a lot of people aren't able to listen in different contexts, that'd be cool. So I could see what's going on. All right, so let me see. I want to see charts. I want to see some interesting charts. Access. And even if something is in the video, that's awesome. It's great to have a video on your homepage. You also still want to have you still want to show the product off. Show me some sweet charts. Like, okay, API keys, don't really need to see this as the very first thing I'm seeing. I know this is an image slider, so I'm going to click this. Image sliders also are not very user friendly because you don't see the images right away. So this is showing the connect process. Yeah, so you want to show like some, you want to show the charts, right? Here we go. Sales forecast. This is the stuff you want to see. Like, as a merchant, I want to see insights into my business. Sample Magento BI reports. Get out of the box ready. Advanced for sure. Get ready. Okay. Sample. All right. So now we're starting to see some pretty charts. You know what I always think about in the context of BI, and I'm not an expert on this. You'd want to talk to somebody that really, had dealt with this kind of stuff day in and day out with merchants to get an educated opinion on it. One of the things I always like to think about is like, show me the 2 or 3 metrics that really matter. The one metric that like really drives a business. So show me a case study for a specific merchant, and like it's always nice to see these charts with maps and all sorts of cool stuff. Like it looks nice. Then what I want to know is, as the business owner, as the person making decisions for the business, what are the 1 or 2 things I should really care about? Is it my churn rate? Is it my bounce rate? Is it my average basket size? Is it, is it how I'm trending? Is it my product categories? Is it which product categories are trending? On the one hand, it's fun to see these charts with lots of different options and things, and you're highlighting lots of different functionality, but I'm always thinking in this context of like, show me 1 or 2 things that like really matter to drive the business. And I know it's not always that simple, in enterprise e-commerce. There's going to be lots of different features that people are going to want to see and things like that. So it may not be that simple, but that's always what I'm thinking about in the context of analytics. So you got a feature list here. You've got what is this? Create reports online. So is this the app interface? Okay, this is the app interface. That's cool. Ooh, mobile. So I almost feel like these are the nicest images from a design UX experience. I almost feel like these are the nicest images I've seen so far. They're nice and colorful. They're cool. I almost want these to be at the top. So you got lots of integrations. So that's I think that's sort of all I got review wise. Again, I'm not real super educated on BI use cases and things like that. I'm not working with it day in and day out, so I'm not sure how valuable this is, but I just want to share some thoughts on that. Let's see, next up. Next up. Okay. All right, got a question from Asrar on LinkedIn in response to a post about creating content. And he said, I'm actually in the middle of this decision phase to create a podcast or not. At times I feel I need a starter person who could join me or who I could join them. Any suggestions? So it's something I've thought about quite a bit. I've done a podcast, with a buddy for, like 4 years or so. And honestly, I've also tried other things. This is my latest effort in the realm of video and podcasting and audio and stuff. But I've done several other things that have ultimately failed, that I've ultimately stopped doing individually. And I've talked a little bit about how it's hard to do things individually. There is something very powerful about having somebody to tag team with, to keep you going, to keep you motivated. It's a lot easier to create content when you can bounce off of somebody else versus doing it solo. The downsides are that it can be hard to find that person who you really click with, who you have good rapport with. And then even if you do find that person, it's always a challenge to sync up schedules. It's always a challenge to be on the same page. One person might be more motivated than another at different times and seasons of life. So I would say, and it's funny, I didn't know what my answer to this question was going to be, but I was like, I'm just going to kind of riff on it and see where I land. I think that what I would say is, if you have someone that you think you'd like to do it with, then definitely go for it. Ask them and get going. I'm assuming that if you're asking this question, you might not have that person yet, which is a whole challenge in of itself. And actually, I think I remember Anchor having a feature that allows you to find a podcast co-host, which I thought was really fascinating. And that might be worth looking into. I think that's an interesting space to help, matchmaking for podcast hosts. Finding a podcast host a co-host just got a whole lot easier. So I think there's something interesting there. So if you have that person, do it. What I would say, do both. So make a commitment to create content on a regular basis. That could be daily. I sort of am becoming a really big fan of doing it daily. Even if it's a small amount, maybe it's a 1-minute video clip that you do. If you're doing a podcast with a friend, with a co-host, you're most likely going to do that weekly. So I would say if you have somebody, go ahead and get that started, do it weekly. And then if you want to create a podcast, if you want to create audio or video content, do it on your own as well. Because then, it really doesn't take a lot of time. Like for you to create a video every day, literally could take 2 minutes. The hardest barrier is, just doing it. And then, the self-doubt that comes in, the self-consciousness, all that kind of stuff. And then your content won't be very good at first. So you got to iterate and it'll get better over time. So I would say do both. If you have that person, great. If you don't have that person, just get started. Just start putting stuff out there and get into that habit of creating content. And then, that way you'll make progress. One of the downsides of relying on a co-host is that you might sort of stall yourself out while you're waiting, whether you're waiting to find that person in the first place, whether you find that person and then you're waiting to coordinate schedules, or you agree on a weekly basis and you're humans. So one of you is going to miss a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And then the other person's going to be really frustrated because you're like, man, I really want to commit to this. And you don't have the same commitment level, or your schedule is different than mine. And that creates a lot of, that will create a lot of frustration. So set that up and do that with them when they're available, but don't rely on them in the sense that you're not going to create content if they're not available. Make that commitment to create your content either way, and then you can have, I think, the best of both worlds. That was a pretty good answer. I'm happy with that. I am happy with that. Okay, so this Spanish segment, it's funny. I put this section on my website just as a silly page that I got to add, but I do speak Spanish. I studied Spanish from junior high all the way through high school, and I minored in it in college, university, and then I studied abroad in Ecuador and really got relatively fluent at that time. But I was like, I don't use it very much, I mean, my wife is Mexican but she speaks a lot of Spanish to the kids, and so much of the time we end up speaking English to each other, and I've tried to like force myself to speak Spanish, but it just doesn't happen. And so as I've been thinking about broadening out the stuff that I'm doing, before I was like, I should only do content on Magento. And now I'm like, let me just talk about whatever I want. And then I was like, why not do something in Spanish? What the heck? Why not? And it'd be a fun way to just kind of practice, just I guess for the sake of practicing, and just, again, just like, why not? Like if you want to do something, just go for it. So I'm gonna do that now. A little nervous. So, no tengo ni una idea de qué voy a hablar. No preparé unos asuntos de discutir. Así que no sé de qué voy a hablar. Lo que tengo que hacer es escoger unos asuntos de cubrir en español, pero no los tengo. Aquí tengo mi página en español y bueno, necesito poner algo aquí. A ver, posiblemente en esta página puedo poner, los videos, los artículos que tengo en español, y los puedo poner ahí. Es una idea. No sé. Es lo único que voy a decir. A ver si cada día practico un poco más mi español y lo mejoro. Uno de los problemas que uno tiene si no practica cada día un lenguaje, pues uno lo pierde y siempre, he puesto mucho esfuerzo en aprender el español y no lo quiero perder, así que lo tengo que practicar. All right, that's it. That's enough for now. That was a little rough, but yeah, I just gotta I just gotta keep practicing, so I'll get better at that. All right, next topic. Dooch. Gitbook. Okay, so this is cool. I was looking for recommendations for. Let me see if I give a quick shout out to Joe, because I was looking for recommendations for a place to put documentation. So similar to, for example, what I have here, which is on Help Scout. My Karma Zero docs are on Help Scout, and this is awesome. Like, it's so easy to create docs. It's so easy to search them. They have a great search, and I've often thought, like, for example, for what I'm doing now with this content team stuff I'm building out, I want to create some docs, and I was like, man, I got to figure out the best way to create those. And then I think it was Joe. Gosh, I'm forgetting Joe's name here, so I'm going to try to pull it up. I should have prepared this beforehand. Oh, it's not even going to let me. What if I'm logged out? It won't let me click on the tweets and replies, so I can't find it. But anyways, my buddy Joe on Twitter mentioned Gitbook to me, and so this looks like a cool option to build documentation. One thing I noticed, which like this, I don't know if I just haven't seen my team pages recently. I don't know if this is a standard thing, but this is the coolest my team page I have ever seen. Like, everybody has their cool like Gitbook shirt on, and then when you hover, you've got these little animations, which is just so cool, like such cool like personality. This is awesome. This is the coolest about team page I've ever seen. Oh, is that an airplane? That's awesome. Anyways, but the product is cool. Now, again, it's a little harder to see what's going on tablet view. I remember when I was on the desk. Oh, I'm on the about page. That's why I'm not seeing the main homepage. So document everything for you, and so you basically can create. You can create documentation. So you can create, things like this, wikis and stuff like that. Again, similar to the Karma Zero documentation stuff that I have. I think it has a good search feature. I'm curious how good this. What I want to just see is a demo. I just want to see a demo. There was another thing I was reviewing recently, and I couldn't easily see a demo of it. And it's great that they have. Maybe these docs are a demo. Probably. Yeah, so I think this is it. I think this is the actual product. Taking a while to load. That's probably my fault because I got my streaming video going on. I'm curious how good the search is. That's cool. First of all, one thing I love to see in a search is, like, instead of a blank thing when I search, like, populate some stuff for me, like help me out, like show me popular searches, show me different things, you know what I mean? But anyways, this is a cool search. This looks like it's at least as good as the Help Scout Docs search, which is cool. This is great. This is awesome. I love it. I think I'm gonna start using this. This is sweet. Love it. All right, yeah, so this was I was partially doing this review to sort of review it, and I was partially doing it just to give myself an excuse to kind of check it out and see if I want to use it, which I think I do. So, yeah, that's sweet. All right, I think that is all I got for today. Oh my gosh, 40 minutes. Woo, this is a long one. This was a long one. Well, thanks again for tuning in. I hope you have an awesome Friday.